have anything on the agenda for you, Mr. Wallace. Would you like to, under correspondence, tell us about the nursing home meeting?
Ken, you want to do the minutes first? I don't care whenever you do it. I was going to do it whenever.
I just figured the rest of the day is kind of full after dawn.
Let's do the minutes real quick and then we can
Sure.
do that, so we don't forget them.
I take it there's no official request for recount, right?
He conceded.
That's what I thought. You just have a typo under KSA in the executive session. Did you find it? Just go down about 5 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have, there's a double period in there. Double. Under, oh, I'm sorry. The first one, right? No. On the second page, 2/3 of the way down, after adjourn canvassers and reconvene the meeting. Your executive session that you requested. First time in, it's a typo. It's the same typo in the next one too.
Yeah.
And then you have under budget publications, the board approved publishing the 2019 notice of budget hearing. Seconded by me, but that's not really a motion. Okay. So just the board approved publishing. That's all I can see.
I'd entertain a motion.
Move to approve the minutes as corrected.
Do I have a second?
Second.
There's no further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Wallace.
I did meet with Lincoln Park Manor Incorporated nonprofit, Ladonna. Reinert was there, county health nurse. Steve Lorenzo was there. Let's see, Bob Krangle was there. We discussed the situation, talked about the things that we talked about at the commission meeting, and then we talked about having Bob, I believe it's Siebel, come, and Jim Gableman did send him a letter, and after visiting with Kelly, he is going to come the 10th and 11th of September. The meeting Kelly and I visited, along with Doug, and it appears that we probably need to formally appoint a committee to develop a plan to move forward. I think our feeling was that the committee probably needs to consist of people that have an interest that can do something, I guess. So Kelly, we kind of decided that we probably should have a commissioner. We're going to need our county attorney for legal advice. We need Doug Alvin, who does it. We need the economic development, Kelly Larson. And I think since we've discussed about trying to utilize the hospital as much as we can, we need Steve Granzo there, and of course Bob Siebel would be our advisor, or would give us recommendations. I think that's a 6-member committee. I think that's big enough. I guess you would notice that Lincoln Park Manor doesn't have anybody on the board. One of the deals with Lincoln Park Manor is that they don't have any money. They don't have any.
Lincoln Manor Incorporated.
Lincoln Manor Incorporated doesn't have any money, and we discussed what their role would be, since we had discussed the fact that we thought it needed to be an board-appointed committee, something like the hospital, how it was created. But we need Lincoln Park Incorporated as a 501(c) so they can receive money and donations and grants. So I think they're going to be an important part of it. They're just not going to be the governing board of the, would not be the governing board probably of the nursing home if Lincoln County takes it. The other complication here is that we do have a 3-year lease with Grace Team, and certainly they're going to have to be drawn into this discussion. Kelly went ahead, then I had Kelly go ahead and set out a plan for Bob when he comes, so we don't waste any time. Her recommendation was that the morning of September 10th that he tour the Lincoln Park Manor. Bob also felt it was important that he visit with the administrator and the staff to make sure he has a good feel of the place and the operation. Then she has kind of a 2-hour scheduled meeting with if we would appoint this committee to analyze the financials with him. And she also wants to set up a time then later for him to meet with Grace Team to go over that. And then at the end of the day, we would meet with hospital auditors possibly, if they can come, the nonprofit. We'd want to include Ladonna in this meeting, health department. So everyone is on the same page. Then on September the 11th, the next day, we take all that information from September the 10th, sit down with the committee, working committee again, kind of develop a plan. Then in the later that morning, we would meet with the commission. Kelly recommended it be an executive session. It probably will have to, because we'll be discussing financials. And then at the end of that executive session, we'd have a wrap up with the nonprofit, hospital board, and probably the Lincoln County health nurse as well. I've looked over this recommendation of Kelly's. I think it's probably workable. I also think she's right that we need to develop a formal committee to bring a plan back to this commission. We just can't be focusing out.
Who is Robert Siebel?
That's the man that's coming to look over
But I mean, what is he, where's he from, what does he
He's
do?
from
Oh, that's.
that Wisconsin, the
brother.
guy that had the brother
Bob,
that
okay,
knows all
okay.
the stuff,
Okay,
yes.
I didn't recognize his name.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, he's the one that we've contacted to
And
kind
is
of do an
he to
independent
be-
study.
And is he being paid?
That, I think we need to. This first meeting is, supposedly he said he would do it for free, but I think we do need to provide some travel expense, at the very minimum. And then if he would continue, if we wanted him to continue, yes, we would have to start paying him, but, as a consultant. But he was very willing to come free of charge to kind of get the groundwork going and see what's going on. And I don't know that we can pass up an opportunity for somebody of that expertise to come. But I do feel that we will need to re-enumerate him something. I don't think that should be a problem.
Yeah, I think we reimburse travel expenses, no problem.
And I understand he's
Expenses come-
flying in. I think he's flying in from Denver. I don't know whether he lives in Denver now or not, but he's going to be in Denver. And I think he's going to take the plane from Denver to Salina, that connection, which is, flies out, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a
And
day.
you said Kelly put together a recommendation. Do you have that?
I have it right here, yes. I wrote it out.
Oh.
Some ideas that she had, yes. Kelly has been very, very helpful in this and has done a lot of legwork. And she is in communication with Grace's team. She's in communication with Lincoln Park. Now, yeah, I'm talking about you. She's been in contact with Lincoln Lincoln Manor Incorporated, and of course she's been in contact with the commission too. She's been touching base with all players, which is extremely helpful.
So, if you've been in contact with Grace's team, I mean, are they still demanding payment at this point?
I think they want to talk. They want to,
I mean, the last they brought to us was a proposal where we buy them out for their expenses that are upwards of $250,000, closer to $500,000. So,
I think they,
are you in contact with John or his son?
I've talked to both, more recently Ryan, the son. I think they just, the impression that I get, they really want to sit down and talk and negotiate. I don't know what their ultimate demand would be for the price. I think there's room for negotiation. Whether it's going to be something that people like, what they say, I don't know. I don't know. I just kind of sense they want to talk, they want to communicate. I think they have a plan that they would like to talk about more, and so I just feel like it's important. They are the operators. I think we just have to keep communications open with them and talk to them until we have that.
I also think that where we have one central group working, it'll be much easier to get information instead of having it all talking to several different groups. If they're talking to one group and basically they have someone that can make some decisions. Lincoln Park Incorporated can't make any decisions on it, because they don't really have their interest is in keeping the nursing home up.
Is the hospital board itself a nonprofit?
They have a hospital foundation that's a nonprofit part that the gifts go to, and then they funnel it back to the hospital.
Who is the board of the foundation? Is that separate than the hospital board?
Yes, yes,
itself?
it is, yes.
I think there's maybe one or 2 board members
Yeah.
on the
That
foundation.
are, okay.
Yeah.
So the part that's missing though is getting contacts for licensure. That should be our primary concern because of the time, the time restriction, I'll call it. I don't know, did Dawn give you a copy of everything that I wrote down from our last meeting? I don't know if you got a copy of that or not, but basically we need to be contacting temp agencies, schools that graduate people who have licensure ability, because regardless of what we do and everyone in communication and all that sounds hunky-dory, but without someone with an operating license, we cannot move forward. So we really need to make those contacts, I would say, before this meeting.
As to the availability of one, because there's no decision, or there won't be any decision until after those meetings as to how we're going to proceed.
Well, the concept is, if you have a board that's going to oversee it, they're going to hire an administrator, just as the board for the hospital hires an administrator. So without that person, without having applicants for that position, the board doesn't have a job.
I guess my feeling is I don't think we're that close.
Yeah, that's,
But what I'm saying is you may be looking at months of searching and or qualifying or contracting to someone.
I think you've got to remember that we have that leased for 3 years.
The lease is in breach right now.
It is,
Yes.
but it is still active because no one has said that we're going to want out.
Right.
So I mean, that part is there. I agree with you that we've got to figure out this license. That's one of the discussion items we had at the meeting is, but really nobody knows. And I think hopefully Bob will have some insight into how we can, what we need for licenses, how we're going to get those licenses.
Well, he doesn't work in Kansas, though. I mean, each
I
state
realize,
has its own
I
set.
realize that, but he has an overall view of what licenses are probably going to be needed.
But we need
And
to
a
be
lot of-
contacting people who are licensed or who are about to get their licenses, because the schooling process in and of itself is pretty much the equivalent of an associate's degree, and there are people out there graduating with that now, every semester. So you may be looking at someone who's potentially coming into the field for the first time, and you can contract them on a short-term basis to at least get your license established for the facility under the new county appointed board management. Do you see what I'm saying? You can't just continue to operate under the previous owner's license, is basically what I'm saying.
but I really think we need to wait until after this meeting before we can hunt around a little bit and see, you know, maybe what schools do that, how many they're graduating and stuff. But as far as contacting people to administrate, I think we need to wait until after this to even see where we're at. We may be several months away from that.
Well, the continued threats of closing the door there don't really make me feel comfortable with this whole wait attitude. I mean, we've all received various emails at different times about closing the doors, and that is just, it's a tactic. It's nothing more than a tactic. So I don't think we need to respond in accordance with wishes from someone who's threatening to close the facility. I think we need to go ahead with our own plans regardless. I mean, it's nice to have them in as part of the discussion because they're our leasee, but they're in breach of the lease. And we have not moved forward to pursue retaining any of our purchased items there. You know, we really don't even have the full inventory list complete. There are so many things that we haven't done our due diligence to make sure we know what we own, what the value is, collecting even the rent money. You know, the discussion part, we can all talk nice, like this is a nice discussion, but ultimately it comes down to us making some hard decisions. And that doesn't happen behind closed doors with all the leaders who have monetary investment that want their take. Everybody knows that. That's not a secret.
And I guess I feel like that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to come up with our plan.
My concern is if your plan is to include the wishes of those who owe us money, that's a concern.
No, I'm not saying that we need to meet with them so to hear their wishes and so that we can make those wishes come true. That's not at all where I'm coming from.
Okay.
Where I'm coming from is they are the operator right now. Is there anything there where we can kind of work together or not? If there isn't, then what I see this working committee is coming out of that meeting saying, okay, done.
I guess I'm just a
So
little
here's
confused.
the plan. Let's come up with our feasibility study. Let's come up with the plan. How are we gonna get this nonprofit board up and running? What's gonna be the hiring process? What's gonna be the licensing process? So that we do. I guess I feel like this is our opportunity to take control of the situation and say, this is what we are gonna do to move forward. And having a conversation with Grace, we can kind of figure out whether there's any opportunity with them or not.
To do what, is my question.
To move forward
Move forward what?
with a plan.
With Grace
with
team.
with our plan, with the Lincoln County's desires for the hopes and futures of Lincoln.
And
Park.
what are you envisioning as Grace Team's portion of them being incorporated in that, is my question.
All I'm thinking right now, we're just having a conversation. It's just sit down and talk with them.
Okay, and
see
this
what
is
it
my
is they're
confusion.
proposing.
This is my confusion. From the spring until now, all we've heard is that they want us to buy them out. Okay? And then we had a consultant come in who you brought in to
Yes.
the table,
And
and
he's
we
still
all
working with
sat
us.
around this table, and it was his opinion that that business is worth this. Okay? So we came to that conclusion already. And I'm just kind of hearing that now we're going back to the drawing board. I thought the whole reason we brought in this consultant to establish the fact that his professional opinion is that that business is worth nothing means that we need to move forward with our own plans. And when you say you want to incorporate the people who are asking us for money with that plan, I don't see how, I don't see what they're...
There has to be a transition there.
Yeah.
They have to
I
be
guess that's what
involved
I'm
in
trying
the
to figure is
transition.
how are we gonna do this? At some point, I mean, we're still working together whether we like it or not right now. And so what is this transition gonna be? Is there any hope that the Grace team's gonna work with us on that transition, or is there not?
And what do you mean by that? Work with us, like give us a better deal? I mean, if we establish that the value is zero, what do you mean? If they want $600,000 and we establish that it's worth zero, are you talking about a negotiation in price?
I'm talking about the licensing. You know, how do we get from where we are right now to where this nonprofit board?
Well, that's what I
gap.
just addressed. We have not done any research or sought out any person who is licensed. That needs to be what we do. Not asking them for their license, but seeking an actual license that would belong to us because we have hired it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, and I think that is important, but I don't think that's our step one right now, because who's gonna hire this person? I mean, we still have to kind of figure out the organizational structure. There's so many things that, to me, kind of have to come into play, we have to figure out before we hire the person. So that's what I'm trying to figure out, is how do we get from where we are right now?
Are you familiar with post-rock open meetings?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a nonprofit that was formed in less than a month. So here's my concern. You have the ability to do the paperwork, not you personally, just in general, to form a nonprofit in less than a month that can receive donations, that can operate fully as a 501c3 nonprofit. No matter how many people are on that board, no matter whether the commission appoints it or not, a 501c3 can be established within a month, give or take, okay? It's not going to be a month-long process to find someone, contract someone, ask them to come here and be supervisory personnel with an acting license in 30 days. That's a 60 to 90 day process at least. So for you to tell me that I see that as being backward. You're talking a month, you're talking 3 months. You need to start the 3-month process before the month-long process, is what I'm getting at. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but I think before you ever get to the point of hiring somebody, we're not to that point. That's my opinion.
I'm saying, who are you going to hire? Where are you going to find them? Where's your pool of people? Like that's part of that 3-month process. The paperwork to file with the IRS is not a 3-month process.
But
And to
there's a lot
receive
more that
money.
has to be done than just paperwork with the IRS.
Why?
I think we've got to figure out feasibility, the financial viability. What is what's the money going to?
We've already done that though. That's why we had that executive session. We saw what the income was. We saw what the generated revenue was. We saw what the take off the top was. We know what those numbers
So the
are.
commission knows what it's going to take to get the Park Manor up and running under this nonprofit board.
No, you said the feasibility study. We did our own financial assessment of
Grace
those
did.
years. No, that we saw from the transition from the prior owner through Grace team, and we did it in executive session, so we saw the numbers. We know what the take off the top was. We know what the budget issues were. We know how much we were subsidizing. All those numbers were revealed to us. And we were also advised by the person that you brought in that the value is zero at this point with the debt. So we have those numbers, is what I'm saying. I'm wondering if Grace team is coming to the table, what is the negotiation? A dollar amount? Because that is just not a smart business move.
No, that's not my intent. My intent is they're the operator right now. We've got to figure out what the transition is going to be.
Well, I think that's why we had the executive session with the attorney to talk about the lease and the breaching of the lease and what that means.
Well, I think first thing we need to do is get the board established.
So how are we going to solicit for board members?
I think you got a list there.
In the committee.
But that's the
I mean,
committee. I'm
committee,
talking about the
yeah,
board.
I think we need to establish the committee first.
Number one, we need to know the legal parameters that this commission takes to establish that board, and that's where we need the county attorney. Hospital is established by statute of the state of Kansas. I'm not sure there is a statute. I'm not aware of a statute that the county can establish a board for a nursing home facility. So one of the things is that's one of the areas that we need that county attorney, and this committee needs to needs some advice to and needs to bring back that recommendation to the commission. We have assumed that we can do it like something like the hospital, but nobody has researched state law to see if that's true or not. So I think that's one of the things that this committee is going to be working on. And I agree with Kelly. We have got to have a communication between Grace team. Number one, we want them to continue to operate that home until we're ready, some way. You know, and we've got to figure out how to keep that place operating while we're developing a plan. So I think we need to appoint the committee and move forward from there. And I think the licenses, I realize there's problems with it, but certainly there has been startups started that licenses are gotten as they go along. Some of those you have to run for a while before they'll ever issue the license, the way I understand. They've got to see you in motion. So
no, you can't operate it without a license, period. That's the concern. There is no transition time where they're going to say, oh yes, go ahead and operate it without a license. That is my primary concern. You can go through a temp agency to try to find someone who's willing to take a short-term contract so that you are licensed under that particular operator, because the building has a license, but the operator has a license as well. So the building license, I believe we can apply for based on ownership of the building and facility. The operating license for the administrator that we were talking about, when you asked John what's it worth and he didn't give us a number, Terry, do you remember that? That is the concern. You can't just go without that for any period of time. So that's why I'm saying that should be at the top of the priority list.
We need to move on here. We're going to get on. Were you okay with the names on the committee?
Yeah. Did we have a name list, or I didn't?
Al Joe's got a list of people he thought ought to be on there.
the only one that I don't have named is the commissioner. County attorney, Doug Albin, Kelly Larson, Steve Grounzo, and Bob Siebel that's coming. We need a commissioner.
Okay, I wrote down Kringle. Is that just because he was at the other meeting?
He was at the other meeting, yes. I was just giving those names that were at the other meeting. The board was there.
He's not on the committee list.
Jennifer was not at the meeting.
Jennifer, Ladonna, Steve, Bob, Miss Bob, and who else did you
No,
say?
Ladonna. I have the commissioner, one commissioner. I have Jennifer, the county attorney. I have Kelly Larson, economic development, and I have Steve Granzo, the Lincoln County Hospital Administrator. And I have Doug Albin, who has worked with us from the Dane Hansen Foundation. And then, of course, Bob's going to be the guy that we're talking to.
Bob Siegel.
So there's
Yeah, I got
basically
it.
5 of us and Bob.
Have,
Was Ladonna on that?
Yes.
No,
Oh. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alden, O'Hare, Commissioner, Franzo. Who's your 5th? I have Ladonna written down.
I have a commissioner. I have Jennifer. I have Kelly.
Oh, Kelly.
I have Steve. I have Doug. And I have Bob, who's coming.
I would think, Mr. Wallace, you've been working on this deal. I would be in favor of you continuing if you're interested in doing it. On the committee.
I would do it.
I would move to appoint those people to a committee to start the process of forming the not-for-profit on the nursing home.
I think we just need to move, to develop a plan or present a plan to the commission how to move forward with the operation of Lincoln Park Manor, which I guess is actually the Lincoln County Nursing Home. It won't be
Without
Lincoln.
any monetary negotiating power, correct?
Oh, yeah,
That's my
no,
only concern.
absolutely.
Okay.
The commission, one commissioner cannot do monetary.
But I'm saying, if that discussion is beginning to happen with this committee, that's inappropriate in my opinion, because we can't make promises financially with these.
There would be no promises. It would just be a plan be presented to this commission to tell us whether they want to move forward in that direction or whether we need to look at some other position.
Yeah.
This
That-
committee is only presenting a proposal. It's very similar to what Lincoln Park Incorporated did, that the commissioners said, no, it's too expensive, we aren't going to do it. And so now we're looking at developing another plan.
May I-
Is the way-
Maybe we add a person.
Who you got on?
I think maybe Dawn, because to be honest, to keep all that paperwork straight, and Dawn, you can say no. I know that it's another task for you, but I feel like there might be a disconnect with paperwork. I mean, everyone's kind of got their own, Jennifer has legal paperwork to do. Doug Albin has already done a lot of financial, stuff. I don't know, unless Aljo wants to keep notes, I don't know how to have essential, I mean, all that paperwork's gonna come to you anyway, is what I'm thinking. Are you willing, or does that not interest you at all? I'm also thinking, since you have probably the most historical knowledge of all of the transitions between owners, that might be some kind of help. And I'm still concerned about the inventory list, to be honest.
I don't have a problem with it if you want to take it on, and that's entirely up to you. I know you're overloaded the
Yeah,
way it
please
is.
say no if you don't want to, but that's just, okay.
Well, you could at least sit in, maybe. It looks like something you don't need to be there, Is that all right with you?
It's fine.
Okay. I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? I'll include Dawn.
Yeah,
in
second.
that motion. Is there any further discussion? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Don, you're on the agenda.
I have applications for the human resource officer position for you guys to review. Technically, we go into executive session. If you want to,
I would say the confidentiality of the people who are applying. I think if it's in an open session, their employer may not be happy to see they're applying for a job, so.
I didn't have one. There's 8 applications and units department is at Courthouse. So if you want to go in for 10 minutes and then
We could at least look at
decide
them.
who you want
Yeah,
to
that'd be fun.
interview and then, okay.
Sort them.
I would move we go into exec session to view applicants for human resource.
I will second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Oh, 10 minutes, well, whatever you said.
Alexis, you second.
No, Carrie did actually.
We're ready for you guys if you want to come up.
I don't have much, you want me to go first, is that right?
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I just have some thank you notes from our board. So I'm just gonna bring these over. Yeah, and so we really appreciate it from USD 299.
Well, thank you, Jude. I'm glad to see you today. You
Yeah,
didn't bring a request for more money.
yep, no.
Sometimes I'm glad.
No.
Sometimes I'm glad to see people show up.
Yeah, we're just really appreciative.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. I think we need to invest in our young people in this county.
Yep.
There's no doubt about it. I'm
And
glad we could help.
And we're just quick, we probably won't, we were trying to get the boilers done for this winter, we probably won't. But anyway, we're working and then we'll give you an update
Okay.
as soon as we get things or who are hiring, those type of things. So,
Thanks.
if you have any questions at any time, give me a holler.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not asking for money.
Oh, okay.
Don't get worried. I wanted to give you the proposal that we've already received. So this is for the high school project. It just goes through we're at the point that we're getting bids. So we had our pre-bid meeting, and that was on August 1st. And they did the walkthrough, and we've been delayed a little bit. As you remember, we hired Fred Malacote out of Missouri. So his structural engineer, the units that we want to put into, or any type of unit that needs to go up on the gym and the metal and wood shop are heavier than the units that are there now. So the structural engineer did not get back to Fred, so it's been delayed a little bit. They're going to have to look at infrastructure and see if there's anything that needs to be done. But in the meantime, this is the bid. I wanted to give that to you just if you had any questions. And so I don't have a date. He has not gotten back to me on a date. I think he's working with the structural engineer. He didn't give us the poundage of what the difference is between the units. So at this point in time, we are just waiting to hear back from him. We, like Jude, would really, really like to get the project over LES started sooner than what it's looking, just for the fact of if we do it, we could clear 2 classrooms at a time during the school year, and the expense versus doing it in the summer. So that's we're going to be talking about that at the September board meeting. I'll let you know what the decision is, because we don't want to have huge overruns because we're doing it in piece by piece by piece. That's not a good taxpayer money type position we want to be in. So
Is this engineer also putting together the proposal for the elementary school? He's doing
correct.
everything.
He's doing it all. And EPM is our and EPM was also there because they are the company that regulates our temperature. So if you're in a room, we set the temperature, let's say 75, it cannot be changed. So, and the heat is also regulated, and that helps control our costs, our electrical and gas costs. So they're also involved in this process. So, but we just appreciate. I'll keep you updated.
Okay.
So, any questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Kathy.
Yep.
We received 8 applications for the HR position that we were advertising. We decided that we're not going to do anything until next meeting, and then we'll decide who of the 8 to interview. So we just took the paperwork.
Too much information to try to analyze in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, and I will kind of explore to see if I can find, like, a listing of questions, potential interview questions to email to you guys too, so you can kind of be thinking about what you might want to have to be able to interview and ask.
We used to have a list that was sort of standard for most of the applicants we did, but not specific to HR.
I'm going to reach out to the HR and see if they have some ideas too.
Do we want to do a late afternoon, like, or after working hours, maybe, so that they have a chance to? I'm thinking some of those people are coming from far away. Maybe we don't want to do it in the middle of their workday, since we can be
How
flexible.
about 6 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, and then be prepared for work too.
Yeah, you guys can give us some dates. And then it's, I'm assuming you guys are really want to interview, and if you want others present. I sometimes feel like too many people is very intimidating to applicants, so I will help as much as you want me to, as little as you want me to.
I would say,
3 people on the board is pretty adequate. I mean, how soon, like, are we talking?
well, I think once we develop our list, I think we need to proceed with it as quickly as possible.
So what would we offer as a hiring date, like first of?
Whoever you would hire, if they have a current job, want them to do a current job. too.
Yeah.
I'm thinking October 1st in my head.
Yeah.
By the time we do all the paperwork and the pre-employment.
And then if they can start sooner, great.
Yeah, it's gonna depend, some of them probably be available sooner than others.
You want them to be good to their current employer, you want them to be good to you. So that's kind of how I would say it. I did go ahead and put the courthouse ones as well as the time. To discuss, since we had the majority of people here. So I just put a time so that Kelly and the extension would know what time to come.
Okay?
But when I talked to everybody, I just kind of, told them, especially extension, because I thought somebody had already talked to Elisa, but apparently they had, to bring their ideas, because just because I threw out something doesn't mean that's a good idea. So Alexis had asked a couple of weeks ago when we talked about this size-wise for rooms. The appraiser's office pulled off, I thought they made 3 copies, but we must not have.
It's each floor.
The old plans, and then they printed off this, so they added the sizes to this. That is, I think, very original when the courthouse was first built, and they took the sizes off of that to put onto this. So you can kind of see room-wise, what there is. I will say that discussion kind of was discussed about the building outdoors and whether or not it could be refurbished as a potential, yeah. Which on part of it, we have, a lifetime of salt, probably 5 years worth of salt, but we could find a place for it. And I have the old election equipment. I didn't get rid of all the voting booths because we may need them, so I downsized, but we kept some. And so that's basically what's out on one side. Tammy has some books, but she said she could find some place for them. The other side is the sheriff's department. They have files and storage. I thought the county attorney's office had as well, but it didn't look like it when I went in and peeked. And then they have evidence. I shouldn't say evidence. I don't know if it's evidence or just stuff that has been found that they haven't been able to find an owner for in there. So the idea or the thought was, is if that building was completely empty, would it cost an incredible amount of money just to knock down the current walls and put up drywall and make it decent? I do know that there is no propane because we haven't cut the propane when they did the back steps and lowered the driveway out back. Natural gas, sorry, yes, natural gas. There's no gas to the building. So we'd have to do probably an electric furnace and hot water heater. But
For what?
one of the proposals was county attorney's office. The other discussion was put an extension. I'm not sure if the building is big enough. I don't know. It doesn't look very big from the outside, but once you get inside, it looks kind of big.
Well, they can get the walls and everything out of there, it's gonna be bigger than the sidewalk.
Does extension pay utilities here? So like, when we approved budgets, every department had most departments had a portion of their budget assigned to utilities, correct?
No. Just telephone.
Oh, phone, okay.
Yeah,
It's
no,
inside
county
the
general
building.
takes care of everything. Utilities, internet, the only thing it doesn't take care of is actual phone lines.
And extension doesn't pay rent. And what I was understanding from the letter that we received from, who sent us the letter?
Kathy.
Yes, it said that we house the district, headquarters, is that what I'm getting?
Well,
Is that,
I don't know, I'm assuming that Elisa must be over the top of
She
the
is,
entire
she's the head
district.
of the, she's head of the Post Rock District, yes.
so no one else has that, like Lincoln County is housing
We
that.
have the administrator.
Is that just something that, why is it that way? I was all
I
I'm wondering.
assume she worked here, and when they moved her up, she
So when
kept
she
her
got that
office.
position, she just stayed here, but that's her position.
Or
And,
what,
and
Lincoln?
she travels, Ashley travels, the only one that doesn't travel is Marcy. And I don't understand that process very much, so, for me to sit there and say what space they need and what they don't need, I was at a meeting and somebody told me that there is a state statute that says that the county must provide an office for extension, but I don't know if that truly exists. I was gonna research and I haven't had time.
I'll look at it for a minute.
So,
And
but I don't know what their needs are because I don't know what they do.
are they
So
coming to the,
They're
Okay.
gonna come too. Kelly's gonna come, and then I asked each of the offices to send a representative. So,
Yeah. Is the kitchen still in that, is that still set up as a house? Living
no.
quarters?
Well, there's
It
a
was never
sink
a house.
there.
Huh?
this
It
little
was the
bit?
sheriff's office,
Well, yeah, but it was maintenance house. Maintenance man
well,
lived there.
many years ago.
I'd say there's a sink on one side, because I think that's what they probably set up for the health department or maintain. And then I think there's a restroom on the other side. I tried to look to see if there's something standing in front of it, so I didn't want to move a lot of stuff, but it's definitely a thought. It's got a brand new roof and it's got guttering, so I don't know what it would take.
Back when the sheriff lived at the jail, it was the sheriff's office for years. Dispatch and sheriff.
And then it was the health department for a while.
I think there's more room there than it looks like there is. You can go in there and take out all the interior walls.
Do we have any dimensions on it? out of curiosity?
I don't know. I will run up and ask.
Yeah, he's here so we could take.
Michael, we can go ahead with you while you're here again.
Hello.
Morning, Michael.
Rain put a stop to the chip sealing for the day.
Hopefully not for the day, but it's got to slow down this morning. It'd be nice to have a little bit of sunshine on the pavement. We're getting stuff moved over. We finished up with Westfall Thursday afternoon there, and getting all the equipment moved over to Silver. We'll do patching there. Probably get that all patched up, and then it looks like we might have some warm weather next week. Hopefully we can just go down to Westfall and get that all sealed and done. Try to catch some good weather for it anyways. And then we'll finish doing the patching after that. With your guys' approval, I'd like to recommend using John Wolting as an interim supervisor with $1.50 an hour increase while he's acting.
And what will happen to his route in the meantime?
If he's got time, he'll go up and do some working on it. If not, we might have to have one of the other guys help out and do some shifting around.
I'm just wondering how that works because the big push against having someone do this, which would be acting supervisor while having a route, was that it wasn't even possible. That's what I was told. So what is the plan there?
Plan is we'll do what we can to get by. You know, it's not like he's going to be able to, and the majority of this is going to happen during the chip seal here too, which there's several blade operators that are helping with that. And, you know, their routes just, you're not able to get stuff done. But as time allows, he will do what he can within that route.
It's a temporary deal, it's not
Correct.
forever.
Is his blade one of the ones that is being replaced when we get the new ones? Where are those two going, the new ones that are on their way?
One will be going to Sylvan. His blade is supposed to be up to be exchanged.
What do you mean from the first round of purchases? Or what do you mean exchange?
Or changed out.
Okay.
But he likes that Komatsu, so we may do one of the other blades that the warranties are out on it too, so we haven't decided for
We
sure
had
on that.
we had four old ones left.
Correct.
One in Sylvan and where were the other ones?
One in Vesper, one in Lincoln, and one in Barton.
But his is the Barnard one.
Correct.
And he doesn't necessarily request that his be replaced at this time. So
Correct.
you're talking between Vesper and Lincoln.
Correct. Those should be here next month, I'm hoping.
I am too. We gotta get the other sold. Wondering about that the other day. Well, I would move that we offer $1 increase in wages. John to assume leadership role, road supervisor.
Second.
Any further discussion? Not
I
all of
do have a question. I mean, for his sake and our own payroll's sake, I mean, are we going to set some sort of timetable
I don't.
regardless of what happens? I mean, I think
Well, I think
we could talk about.
I think if that is not, if that's only going to be temporary, as long as it's temporary, I think we're all right. But if we foresee that it's going to be other, we're going to have to do something. We'll
Right.
have to make some other decision.
Right.
And I guess I'm looking at this as a temporary until health, medical leave
Right.
guy comes back. So that's,
I guess I'd also recommend that it be retroactive to last Tuesday when you started helping to the.
okay, that's fine.
Sure. I mean, do we say like 3 months and then we'll revisit it?
I don't,
Because I'm assuming, regardless of what happens, you're still going to need that help.
We can revisit in 30 days or 60 days, whatever. I don't know.
So indefinitely.
Or 4-week review it or something, I don't, it's however you all want to do it.
Let's go 30 days.
30-day review, that's fine. Or, yeah. Why don't, if we remember, let's see, what is today? Why don't we,
At the end of September, or
I would say, why don't we go start the first of the month, every month, and then first one will be in October. We'll review it the 1st of October, and then following every month thereafter.
sure.
You want to put that in the motion, Don? That's fine.
Or just so we know.
Yeah.
Be reviewed 1st of October.
And it's effective August 14th.
Yes.
So I got
Yes.
that Aldo Wallace moved to approve a $1 increase in wages to job teachers and leadership roles on a temporary basis for review on October 1st, effective August 14th.
Yes.
October 1st or first meeting of October?
Well, it'll be the first
Yeah,
meeting.
is it?
first Monday of October, sorry.
That's okay.
It would be the first.
It actually is.
Yeah,
That worked out.
yeah.
If there's no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
I saw that on TV where that guy, you could tell him, ask him what day, and he could tell you the day of the week it was on. I've got that skill.
Yeah.
It's not going to show it again for a while. And then I got some numbers on like the Coleman Bridge, on what we spent on it, and the estimated through the state was $145,000, and it looks like, we're going to get back a little bit less than $2,000 on that. And then for design, utility, and right-of-ways is around $56,000. So,
In addition to the 145,
yeah, so
we spent the 56 plus the 20% of the 150.
So we got roughly $200,000 in that bridge.
And who did the design on that?
That was Schwab Eaton. And then it looks like for OS 187, the estimated through the state on our 20% is going to be $130,526, with design, utility, and right-of-way at $38,000. So we're going to have about $168,000 on that bridge.
Okay, going back, the Coverman one, you said the 145, that was our 20%.
Yes.
That was our 20% number.
Yes.
Okay. Plus the 56 for the design, because we pay 100% of that. And
Design,
then,
utility, and right-of-way, yes.
yeah.
And the 56 could be skewed a little bit. Liz didn't have enough time to nail it down for sure, but some of those could have been reimbursable stuff that we did get reimbursed for.
But that was
It
at least
sounds-
the initial cost that we
Yeah,
were probably spending. Okay.
it seemed a little bit high to me for design, utility,
Pretty
and
deep,
right-of-way.
wasn't it? It was deep.
It was
Well, it's a
Long
little more, I
bridge.
mean, it's 15,000 more on our end, that's
Pretty deep,
20%. Another.
It wasn't quite straight either, was it? Or was?
I believe it's on a skew also.
Skew.
A little bit, not much.
Okay, so where does that put us in your bridge budget?
I haven't seen the new one yet. Don't have a copy of it. For this year or last year's?
Well,
Next upcoming,
we won't be paying any of this until the turn of the year.
what's that?
The OS,
107.
have we paid all of the Coleman project? already?
Yes,
So is any portion of the 187 coming out of this year's budget?
OS 87. I believe some of it will have came out
No,
of this.
is it 187 or 87?
87.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
107 is the next one.
Sorry. Okay.
Looks like we got $160,000 in the special bridge fund.
160.
Yeah,
Left this year.
that's the way I read this.
We should,
So then we should, out of this year's budget, hypothetically be able to cover that project, approximately.
You know, I don't know when the state's gonna require us to pay. It's gonna let this calendar year, but it's not gonna start building until next calendar year.
Right. And what did we put in? It wasn't much more than that we put in.
We're limited to 2 mills. For the bridge, special bridge, right,
2
Don?
mil would only be 117, right?
But
For
we
this
had
current budget year.
carry.
I try to keep carryover for it.
That's limited, isn't it, Don, some way?
Yeah, it's limited to 2 mills. But it's the tax required part of it, so if they
Yeah.
have cash, it was expected to carry over.
Yeah.
So the special bridge has a budget next year of 187,000.
Yeah, I was thinking
187.
180,
Yeah, with the thought that we're only gonna spend 115.
yeah.
If we spend more than that, we're gonna be a budget authority, then that would be next year's budget goes
That we're only going to spend 115 from this point on in the year.
to. Yeah. That's
Okay.
what we have. If we spend more than that, then we'll have to reduce next year's budget.
That would put us at 145. So I get 332 for the remainder of this year and next year. If it's only 115 for the remainder of this year and the 187 for next year. With what's left in there now. And a total of 168 for OS 87, correct?
Estimated, yes,
6.
170 would be a safe number to plug in.
Anything else?
No, just that we're gonna have to, or we are going to get some more asphalt than we anticipated. Called out to Hayes, they had some on the ground, but it was their ultimate mix at $131 a ton. Visited with Hayes. Hayes has got it for just regular cold mix for $80, so we're running to Hayes to get it. Salina said they could start making it sometime this week, and I told them that we need it now, so we're just going to Hayes.
Did, have you visited with Ottawa County about their overlay this year?
I have not.
I don't know what they're using. They've done quite a section there through Minneapolis, and I wasn't sure what. It's laid really nice. Now, whether it's going to last, I don't know. They got it laid down really in good shape, and I don't know what they were using, and I just wondered.
It seems like about every 5 to 7 years they do that.
Yeah.
Full overlay would be nice. Our oils could use it, but it would be expensive.
Stuck to my car too a little, but I'll send him a bill.
That's all I have for you.
Okay, where are we on using the Mobile 311 program?
It hasn't changed.
Well, I'm wondering what your plan is. I mean, you're the head of the department, you brought this program to us, we're paying for it monthly, we're in a contract. I mean, what's the plan here?
probably need to have a department meeting with my guys and figure out what we're gonna do with it. Either they're gonna use it or we're not gonna be paying for it.
Well, I requested all the paperwork as far as keeping track of concerns, road requests, etc. for the last year and a half. And quite frankly, it's a mess. And I think you know that already. The stack is about this thick. I have no idea how you're sorting it. There are notes, handwritten, typed, both. I mean, if you don't have a follow-up plan, I don't know how you're organized. Do you feel organized?
For the most part, yes.
You do? In that stack of paper, you can tell me what's going on, because, I mean, they had to retrieve all these things from different tablets, different people's notes, different sources. I mean, there is not one consolidated piece of information that someone can request. So how are you doing that? How are you supervising that?
I guess you've seen it. So, I mean, we gave you how it's done, and the information goes to Bob, and Bob puts it into his work and puts together his list.
There's no list. I've asked for everything. It's a stack of papers, all different notes, handwritings, follow-up notes from different people. There's no one list. That doesn't exist. That was why you brought us the Mobile 311 program, remember? I'll be interested to know about your department meeting and see what you come up with.
We need to move on. Ladonna, we're getting behind here. Thank you, Michael.
All right, thank you. Have a good week.
I just have a couple things. I would like to put out bids to paint the storage shed. Do you know what's under that wood up at the top? Is that wood or? I don't know. Okay, that wood's getting kind of bad. I don't know if we can just paint it and
Talking
make it
about around the outside.
up top.
Up top.
Yeah,
I think it's masonite siding is what they put up there.
underneath it.
Just from
Okay.
memory of driving by there.
But I think if we get it painted before it totally falls apart, it probably will still be okay. But if we do that, I would like to remove those other two windows and those bars and the air conditioner and block those in like we did on the front. Travis came over and said that sometime they're slow. He probably could do that without any problem. He was going to get together a bid. But before I go do anything about the painting or anything, I wanted to ask permission if it was okay that I did that. It's getting pretty shabby looking over there. And he said there are a couple under this window on this side. There's a couple places he needs to tuck point the concrete blocks because it's cracking.
Yeah,
So-
get an estimate from him and see what the block will cost.
Okay. And then wait on the paint or?
We statutorily have to receive bids though, for any
Well,
kind of
I
remodel.
understand that, but I'm not going to waste my time getting bids if you guys don't want me to move forward with the project.
I don't have a problem if it needs painted, we need to keep the building up or utilize it for storage. So.
Well, I'm afraid we're going to have to completely replace all that wood if we don't do something to it, or masonite or whatever it is. And Michael did have the engineer come out and look at that side, and they talked about some drains or something, but I know he's been back twice and hasn't mentioned it, so I just was going to remind you that he has looked at it, but, okay, but, so I don't know, I mean, I thought he was gonna talk to you guys about it, but you might mention it to him the next time he's here.
We can do that, we'll try to remember to ask him about it.
Okay. And then we've been working, we have a CDRR grant, which is chronic disease risk reduction, which is from the tobacco settlement years and years ago. We get a grant every year for that. And a lot of it has to do with the kids at school and smoking, but part of it has to do with smoking in outside areas. The Lincoln Park and the Sylvan Grove Park both have worked with us, and there's no smoking allowed in those two places. There's no enforcement to it, but the signs are there and most people don't smoke. But for the past several weeks, people are smoking in front of our office while they're waiting for different appointments and things like that. And I would like to make our entire outside
area smoke-free. I think it looks pretty bad when we're trying to work on that in different places, and yet people are out front of our office just smoking away. I don't like it, and I would just prefer to make, I know we can't enforce it so much, you know, like on a Saturday night at the V in the back. You know, we're not going to have the cops write tickets or anything, but a lot of people won't smoke if there's a sign. But in the front, I have no problem going out and saying you can't smoke up here if there's a sign there. But
Put up sign or whatever, I guess.
that it's a non-smoking, smoke-free campus or whatever I can come up with.
Smoke-free campus, I think that's one region
Do we-
down there, they
yeah.
have signs that say.
Do we need a resolution to do that, or I can
I
just
have
make
no
a
idea.
policy?
I couldn't answer that.
You have to
I would put up
do
the
the
sign and
research.
see how much it helps.
Okay.
And then we go from there. I
Okay.
didn't have a sign.
Okay, well, in my research, there's sample policies, there's sample resolution, there's sample all kinds of things. So, put up the signs and see how it goes, and then go from there. Because like I said, I don't have a problem going out and telling them they can't smoke, but I have to have something behind that to
Yeah.
justify it. So, that's all I have this morning.
Are you prepared to pay for your remodeling out of this year's budget? Is that your plan?
You know, I plan to pay for it out of the capital outlay.
In this year's budget, is what I'm saying.
It's
Or are
not-
you saying it's something you're doing next year?
No, it's not in the budget, it's in the capital outlay, which isn't budgeted, so to speak.
Your capital outlay would be either rollover from last year or budgeted, right?
It rolls over, yes.
So you're planning to do that out of this year's, that's my question,
Yes.
or next year?
No, I'd like to get it done before winter. So there's $60-some thousand.
It'll take me a month to find it. Very fast at this. Yep, you got $61,073.79.
When we haven't had any major
Adds up
purchases
to-
out of there this year. I had one. I don't even think.
End of July.
I don't think it'll be good spending.
I don't think it would be either.
Are you getting it all done as one bid with the block work that you want done in the painting?
It'd have to be two separate, because when we got the front window done, it took us forever to get one bid for that one. So I don't think whoever does the cement work will do the painting work. So it would have to be two separate bids.
Well, it's legal as long as we get bids.
I will see what the block work comes in, and then I will try to figure out something for bids and come back next week. Okay?
Thanks.
Very short recess before we
All right.
start the employee meeting.
You fine? You want, there's a copy, there's extra copies of it if somebody else
Okay,
wants.
thank you.
I was just giving the department heads one. Anybody that wants one, they're certainly welcome to them. They also are available in the county clerk's office.
If we want to get everybody in there today, so we've got to take care of all this at one time. We adjusted some of the budgets, a little bit of what they were when they were proposed. Remember exactly which ones you have the ones that changed.
I'm on page 7B, where we can start. County Commission reduced that from what was proposed to $48,000. There was salaries were decreased. Commission using the same salary as 2017 or 18. I'm sorry. And the salaries were figured at 50 cents an hour across the board. County attorney's request was lowered, salary was lowered, as well as the commodities, because plans are to bring the county attorney into the courthouse. Didn't think it'd take quite as many commodities possibly. And also, the contractual was reduced significantly because we're going to employ a secretary for the county attorney as a county employee. Register of Deeds, we lowered the salary a little line. We also lowered the commodities line because of past history. We also are going to ask that the Register of Deeds reimburse the appraiser's office for the time instead of you putting a salary in where we got rid of the salary. We left that because we were actually doubling that up. She was doing a full-time and you were doing a part-time, so we just left it a full-time, and we'll ask you to fill out cards and there'll be a reimbursement to the county appraiser.
We looked at that and there hadn't been a reimbursement or anything done really hours-wise, so.
Those departments were budgeting for the same position
I
and it crossed
understand that.
over.
I understood what he said.
We made some adjustment to the sheriff. I think we lowered it $4,000, but we made some adjustments into the current budget, reduced salaries over there because they had not hired that full-time deputy that they planned on, so there's some savings there. I think we also decreased the commodities a little, but we also, in doing so, we increased the contractuals.
I think on the sheriff, we lowered the current year.
Yeah. Okay, and the clerk of the district court, we adjusted the reimbursements there. It appears that we didn't budget enough reimbursements for 2018, and then we put some in that was not in the budget presented by the district court. The rest of the, if you go to page 7C, I don't think we made any adjustments in emergency preparedness. Reappraisal, the only note I have here is that there needs to be a billing between the county appraiser and the county register of deeds. That's we didn't put in a reimbursement in that line, but there will start being, I assume, in 2000, a reimbursement. There will be some reimbursement to your office. It will show up, but we did not put any in. Go down to communications. Again, we did some moving of numbers there in the current budget. We lowered it from looking at last year's and what we anticipate. We lowered the total for last year, for 2018, $154,000. And we lowered the total for the communications to $160,000 for the current year, for next year, for 19. And those come out of salaries. We adjusted that down. We lowered the commodities from past history of what we're seeing spent, and there was a decrease in the contractuals too, both in 18 and 19. On 7D, the juvenile detention center, services on the elderly, which we can levy up to 2 mills. I guess that's a 6th, 7th line down. We lowered that back to $75,000, what we've been budgeting in the previous years. And down a few more lines, you'll find juvenile detention. We had $1,000 for 18. We put 500 in. We hadn't used the facility in 18, though I got a printout yesterday from juvenile detention, and we have used it in the month of August, or in the month of July probably. So, but I think we'll still, $500 is the minimum that we contribute to that budget. We are allowed so many days, and once we exceed those days, then it's charged. They charge us, I believe it's $140 or $150 a day for those juveniles down there. We have not in the past used all our days up. We usually have them left over. So that's, but the 500 is a minimum for the counties. I think Lincoln County may be the only county that is at the minimum level. The larger counties such as Saline and Geary contribute heavily to the juvenile detention budget. Yes?
Is LAD program, is that Sean?
Yes.
Yes, that is Sean.
Does he submit a budget or?
We are under contract with them, right, Don?
Yes.
Courtroom security line down there, we had budgeted in the past. We didn't have any budget in 18. It showed up in 19. We again zeroed that out. The courtroom security has been being handled by the Sheriff's Department presently. It's in their budget. I think visiting with the other counties at the Juvenile Detention Center, courthouse security is becoming a problem. Dickinson County just went into full security, or will go into full security next year. There will have metal detectors, and they will have somebody at the door. And they're doing it through a security outfit in Salina. So, I think we're all need to be aware that that's an thing, even in all departments, that security is important. Certainly we'll want you to be safe. That's something I see from the other counties that people are talking about more and more, how they're going to secure their facilities. But thank you to the Sheriff's Department. We don't have any of that budget. And that's all I found on page 7D. Page 10, and down on the noxious weed, we did some adjustments there based on what we foresee. We did lower the salaries as we compared to what was being spent this year, and then plus the increase, we lowered that to $37,000. We made an adjustment in the 2018 budget on contractual because it didn't appear that we were spending near that $11,000 that had been there, so we lowered it to $9,000. And the capital outlay fund, don't think about this. We did not budget for a capital outlay fund. We felt the capital outlay fund was enough, and if there's leftover, that's transferred over into it anyway.
I think we also talked about if you have a replacement need for a vehicle, that was incorporated into our capital improvement, wasn't it? No?
No, if they have a capital outlay fund.
He has enough capital outlay already.
Well, there was something in the, when we signed the new resolution, there was something about one of the pieces of equipment at the landfill. I guess that wouldn't be for noxious weed though, that would be.
The trailer in the back.
On page 11, County Health Department, transfer to the County Health Department outlay fund. We took, there was a number in our proposal of, I think it's 14,000, a little over 14,000. We took that out to zero again. County Health Department, we've been rolling money over into their capital outlay fund, and it's today we looked at it and it's at 61,000. So that lowered the total budget on the County Health Department down to 110,000, 175. I think that's right. Is that what's on your papers? Checking.
Good question.
Yes. Total receipts. I don't have that marked as being changed, but it may have been one we missed. 114, 165 is what I have on this old one. I don't know. I assume that was the number given because that's what was on the original copy.
It may not, because you put ad valorem tax revenue and adjust some of those things out.
Okay, that's where it's,
Because your ad valorem tax is at the very bottom.
I was just making sure you're not comparing it to year to date and doubling it, because most of our income comes in as this next parking week.
Okay. Alright.
I didn't bring my sheet, I don't remember what it was.
All right. On page 12, remind me, are you guys on the same page? Yeah. Ambulance service.
Do we have a department head for ambulance service?
We did add, in the original there was nothing for ambulance runs, cash, income. We did put 75,000 back in that budget. And the expenditures, we adjusted 18's salaries, lowered it by 27,000 by looking at what's there. And for next year, we lowered what had been projected, about 14,000. We did up the contractual service. Well, I guess we lowered the contractual services that was proposed, and we put 25,000 into the capital outlay fund. It had been at 50,000. We lowered it to 25, which lowered that budget. That budget was lowered. Proposed budget was lowered about 49,000.
The prior 2 years' budgets you had done, Don, correct? Or 1 year?
Correct.
2.
Or, I think I did the 2017 budget, or I think the 2018, based upon what I, so, and I just didn't know when I did the 2017.
That first column shows you the actual expenses for 17 the auditor came up with. So some of this budgeting is, we're looking at 17, what we actually spent. This is the way we adjust some of those numbers. Go down to employee benefits. We juggled some of those numbers. Capers, we could reduce. Number one is because we don't have, it didn't have as many employees as we thought we might have. Workman's comp, again, we were able to lower that from projections. And unemployment insurance, we've been doing pretty well there, so we were able to lower that one down. Medical insurance, we're at around 900,000. We anticipated 900,000, as you see in the budget for 18. Last year we had budgeted a little over $1 million. This year we're budgeting $1,150,000. You have to remember we're bringing on another employee. We also had a couple employees quit that were single, and we anticipate hiring family plans. We always budget for family plans just in case. So that's why that number. We also seen a significant increase in the premium cost of that health insurance too. Of course, that is still a 90-10 ratio. You pay 10, we pay 90. We're still there. We have decided to look at other insurance policies during the next year, 2019. Our contract with the state ends in 2019, so we will looking at whether we need to go out. That is another issue that I have learned at the county meetings. Counties are beginning to go out and shop for other insurance besides the state. We also have some counties that are coming out of the other insurance and back into the state pool. So it appears to me it's kind of a toss-up. I don't know whether it has with the health of the group or not, but the state we've been seeing some pretty significant increases, I think, at the state, and I'm not sure why that is. But
Question about that?
yeah.
Will there be any involvement from department?
Yes, there will be. We will want employee input once we get started. We'll probably hire an insurance broker to do this.
Well, and an important part of that too is like the hospital and the clinic and myself, some insurance companies we can't bill because we're not providers or things like that, and you really need to let us know what's going
Yeah.
on so we can kind of try to, if we can't bill it, then it makes it where people can't come to the health department or the hospital or whatever. We try.
Yeah.
But not all of them are not all insurance companies want to work with health departments, clinics and things.
As we move on, I'm on page 14. These are basically things that have happened prior to. These are capital outlay funds. First one is the ambulance. We're only going to budget for $25,000 transfer, so that lowered. We adjusted that one down. County health capital outlay, we budgeted 0, so that changed that one. You have the corrections on yours. On page 15, same thing happened at Noxious Weed. We decided not to levy for capital outlay funding in. And then you can go to page 21 is where it's finalized.
Yeah, I apologize, I didn't really think about it, but you guys have all the fire districts and cemetery districts, so I can
Yeah.
put that out, but didn't think about it. So you'll have the
Looking on page 21 is basically the summary. You see that the county in 17 spent almost $9 million. And we had a levy of 110 mills, a little over 100. We're estimating in 2018 to cut that down to 7.8 or almost 7.9 million. It's 107. Next year we are planning expenditures of 8.
I didn't update that one.
Huh?
I didn't update mine.
Oh, you didn't update that?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on the wrong one. I'm reading the wrong one. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. In 18, we anticipate spending 7.6 million, a little over 7. It's 107 mils. In 19, we're proposing 8.6 million. We're going to have to raise almost 6 million of that through taxes, which would put the levy at 102.152 mils. That mill levy will change when final tabulations of the assessed property, the county clerk verifies those, so that could change. It usually either goes up or down a little bit, depending on what we find in assessed valuation. I guess we did not, for the first time I think since I've been on the commission, we did not tamper with the road department budget this year. Do you have any questions? I guess I would just say this is tight. It will remain tight. That extra spending will come back to haunt us. But everything we save in one year helps us in the next year. I guess it's just kind of like home. We can roll some of that money over. We have opportunities to do things. And certainly this year we have been requested for much more help than in the past. And we have had some cash to do some of those things.
Anybody have any questions?
If your sensor number was changed, I will try, like Dickens, to have it changed on the August budget printout that you get. No guarantees, just depending on how busy we get. But I'll try to get that center so that way your percentages feel the way it's on
Current year.
for the current year, yeah. Not sure how many of that was affected. And if you have any more specific district, what I'll get you for something else you guys.
Any third-party requests were limited to the consumer price index of 1.44, what we were given by the state. Not allow anything to go up above that. And we do not have to have a vote in this county. We are well under what the 1.44 CPI was. Under about 300,000 actually. Does anyone have? Yes, Ladonna.
It's not necessarily on the budget, but do you have a specific way you want evaluations done and request for raises, or do you not? Do you know anything about that yet? Have you discussed that yet?
I think we probably need to have a department meeting to discuss make sure everybody's on the same page on those, but that's not today. I don't think we have the time to.
I know we skipped over it, but we did budget for a new full-time position, and that would be HR. So currently, Dawn is not hiring in her office yet. So what we did was we created a full-time position for an HR staff, and that we'll be doing interview process here within the month and hopefully hiring. So I would assume that we're not going to follow up thoroughly on the evaluations until that person is somewhat integrated, because that will be who you report to as far as turning in employee information. So we talked about maybe an October 1st start date for that person, and hopefully October, November, December, that person could be somewhat integrated by the turn of the year when we would be doing that. So has anyone finished evaluations, gotten 50%, done,
Started mine,
or,
I just don't know when to go forward, and you're not gonna have a person who knows how to. I don't know what to.
My hopes was that maybe this person, their first project would be to help us get the evaluation, work with department heads to get their evaluations done, and also help, if we are gonna go to a merit-based system for wage increases in 2019, help the commissioners come up with a plan on how that's going to occur. That was my hope, because I don't really have.
right, we have 8 applications, so if someone takes the position, we offer, and it works out, they'll have the last quarter of the year to be integrated into whatever they need to learn for our particular needs. And we do have people with some HR experience. Based on that, hopefully we can use them for some advice on moving forward with that process. And I think we approved, it wasn't until after January, well, did we approve that last year? Because it was a 50-cent raise across the board last year. And did we do it for January or not until February?
We did it in January, and you guys discussed, but no decision was made whether or not we'll do that next year or whether
Right.
we'll move it to a merit-based.
But it's budgeted in for a maximum 50-cent increase per hour per employee in each department.
So maybe you guys will need to decide what you view as cost of living and what you will view as a merit-based and once evaluations are.
I have a question of curiosity. Has anyone here been employed in the private sector and received a cost of living increase in their wages every year? Like we've done here for about, I don't know, 7 or 8 years. Has anyone ever received that in a job that was privatized? A yearly fixed rate increase in their salary or hour? It's a nice perk.
I know that in the private sector, in the past for myself and for my daughters who worked in the private sector, they also get huge bonuses that probably are more than what my cost of living is. So it's just a different, it's just a different word.
Do they also get longevity pay? Or just the bonus?
Yes, well, their vacation and stuff increases for ours is set, but nothing we're trying here time off, so.
Well, you accumulate time off, right?
Right.
You accumulate it as you go,
Right.
and then you get longevity pay on top of that.
The longevity,
No, well,
the longevity,
80 hours. You know, our vacation doesn't change. Some of us work, or leave, somebody's worked 2 months, gets the same leave time I get, 12 hours a month. Doesn't it? It's the same.
the longevity pay came out because they used to give out 1 day for every 5 years worth of leave time. But then we got.
For additional vacation.
Yes, and so that would be the increasing factor, except for when you give as much as we get for leave time, and you have an employee that's been here for 40 years, they can't use it all, and then when we cut it back to where they couldn't carry over more than 80 hours, and then we had where employees could be gone up to 5 weeks, if not more, during the year, and so they decided to cut out that extra day and then just pay them instead of the day off. So that's how the longevity pay came into play.
So are you advocating that you go back to just accumulating time off instead of longevity pay after it's been capped? Or
Unless you keep making a comparison with private sector, it's just a different word. It's not longevity pay, they just get more leave time. I mean, I have a friend who's worked it for 20 years at the same company, and she gets 3 months a year off in leave and vacation because she's worked there so long. So she doesn't get longevity pay. So it's just a trade-off. The same with bonuses. You know, my daughter last year got a $3,000 bonus. That's more than 50 cents an hour for me. So it's just a different cost of living. It's just a different word. So when you say the private sector doesn't get it, yeah, a lot of the private sector does.
Well, I didn't say that. I was just asking.
Maybe not around here, but it's just a different word.
Do you feel underpaid?
I do as an RN. Yes, I do. But new RNs at the hospital make more than I do. So, yeah, I do. So, but I do realize our benefits make up for that in a family plan, which I don't need now, but I did need, and I understand the value of it. So, that's why I'm not up here complaining about what I'm getting paid, but when you start taking things away by saying, you know, does the private sector get it? I just don't.
So you would advocate for a 50-cent raise across the board for every employee rather than doing evaluations?
There should be a cost of living of some sort, I believe. I think merit pay is okay. Again, that's if everybody's valuing the same way. So, you know, maybe if you get an HR person that's on the board, they could have part of evaluations. So one department isn't getting all the max, and the next department is getting less. I think it's really hard to value somebody in the clerk's office and somebody at the health department and somebody at the highway department. We all have very different jobs. There's no way to compare across the board. So it's just tough for supervisors, I think, sometimes to know what the right thing is to do.
Do we have any suggestions for cost of living out of what portion of that 50 cents that has already been budgeted?
I think the most important thing to remember is all of us have worked here. I think the first couple of years I worked here, there was a merit-based increase. And I want to say 1 year it was 5 cents. And not that I wasn't appreciative of it, and I think the other employees were appreciative, but it almost seemed like it was an insult more than it was anything else. So I think if we figure it out, we just haven't been used to it. So we'll have to figure out the correct process, I guess, is maybe what to say.
Well, that's why I'm asking for a suggestion on a base cost of living increase. What percentage of that 50 cents would be base cost of living increase versus the rest of it as availability to gain based on evaluations?
Maybe it's something we could think about and come back. I don't know what is fair and what isn't fair. I know my employee that I have left doesn't make the most money in the county. It would be difficult not to give her, you know, a decent cost of living and lower merit. That's where I struggle with, isn't it? And I feel like because I do only have 1 or 2 employees, how do you not give them something? But then I also understand in the bigger departments that they have to be able to reward those employees that are hard workers to continue to keep them here.
Well, and as you mentioned, Ladonna, I think the benefits package in and of itself is something that has to weigh in. If we continue to pay 90% of whatever that cost is to us, you know, that's different. That reduces our ability to up hourly wage, and then there's not as much incentive for any employee to find their own private plan, which may wager out for them in their benefit if they're finding a lower cost plan and increasing their dollar amount per hour. But we're not legally allowed to entice an employee to reject our group plan so that they can make more money. And that, in my mind, is unfortunate because some people want the health insurance over the pay and then vice versa. So and our group health rates do affect, I know you mentioned that earlier, LJ, you weren't sure, that is definitely a factor. So as our pool that we belong to increases claims, our cost goes up. So we had, what was the increase last year? 10%. And I'm not sure, for 2 years in a row, it's been about 10% now. So
When you say increases claims, though, what do you mean by that? Again, claims that I go to my endocrinologist on a quarterly basis, so then that's a claim, correct? So I'm being punished for doing my job of being a good, law-abiding, healthcare conscious person that not only does the county ask of us, but again, the responsibility by the provider of those services, Blue Cross Blue Shield, mandates that. I do that, I do a claim, so that yet I'm being punished for doing what I'm supposed to do. Explain that. There is no logic to that.
That's the logic.
It's not you that is a health conscious, it's those that refuse to go to the doctor and then all of a sudden, wham, have a stroke, a heart attack, cancer.
Well, even if they've
But
been
even
going
then,
to the
that
doctor
doesn't-
and they still put in for that claim, it doesn't matter what your history and checkups were. Once that claim happens as some sort of,
I think that's why the state is trying to push that healthy, yes, those preventative items to catch those things a little bit sooner before they become catastrophic.
But it's a moot point with the pre-existing condition. And
Yes.
I can't help that.
Yes.
That's the CEG1.
yes.
So I'm stuck and screwed.
I know.
Regardless.
Well, and I think that's why a hot topic has been healthcare nationally,
I
for
think
sure.
Maybe a question that I have is, let's say we go out and we hire a broker, and we find an insurance company that we can get for a lot less. Is there monetary compensation or something that will divert some of the funds back to employees to where maybe we are or are not competitive? I can tell you the highway department employees are probably not competitive, and it's probably why we have the turnover that we have. Just knowing because my son is in that same realm of work. But the question would be is the overall goal going to be just to reduce the employee benefit side, or, if we, let's say, like our deductible went from $300 to $3,000 in 1 year. If the deductible increases a little bit more, is there help for the employees on the salary side to help offset that? That's just kind of the comments that the employees question me about or ask me about that makes me stop to think about it, because it's...
Well, you have to take it in terms of percentages. So regardless of the cost dollar-wise, the county is still absorbing 90% approximately of all the plans. We're mandated in the contract that we have now to pay 90% of the individual's plan. And then we opted to go ahead and pay 90% if you have a spouse, self and spouse plan or family plan, either way. So, but the way I understood it the last time we had that discussion, Dawn, is that we cannot individually compensate by hourly wage or salary to offset someone's health insurance. So if you opt out of,
Not take the phone,
right,
You can't.
or to take a lesser plan.
Let's say, for example, that, like one of these people that I talked to at the Clerks Association meeting that they got, said they saved the county $700,000 a year in a small county our size. Now I'm just throwing a number out there. I think it was closer to 500,000, but let's just say it's $500,000 a year that they saved. Can maybe other alternatives to offer for employees be, instead of having the money budgeted in employee benefits, we divert it and put the money in to increase the wages?
Salary line items.
Yeah, is my thoughts. Or
Right.
bring back life insurance, or
I think everyone could appreciate the salary line item increase over and above other benefits, depending on your age and what your interests are, but I mean, that's what I would say.
I hope, and I have the name of that person that I'll share with you. I think there are some savings, and I think that our plaintiffs are going to help. It's scary to switch.
The budget,
Especially people that have chronic health issues. It's terrible.
the budget that we just set for 2019 includes that was a 1.15 million for our health insurance for all the employees. That's our last year in the state pool contract. So, and I know you said that before, but that means we have a year to look. And I think, hopefully, with the way that the markets have been changing, there may be some more viable options. And like you said, you may not be able to bill certain companies, so we want to keep an eye on that.
Well, and a
But-
lot of them get rid of immunizations after 5 years old. You know, the banks have those policies, and these parents are paying $200-300 because they have health insurance, so they can't get the free stuff on the beds, and but their kids need shots, and you're not covered by the insurance plan, so they're paying out of pocket for those. So when you look at insurance plans, they might be a lot cheaper, but you also have to look at, you know, how many kids do we have in that age gap? That, you know, parent, you know, we're going to have to, or is the deductible going to be $10,000? Or, you know, you can get cheaper plans, I'm sure you can, but you got to, I'm not saying all of them you would get less benefits, but you just have to look really carefully because.
Right. But that 50 cents an hour is $1,040 a year. So, you know, if you can jump $1 or two, that's a couple $1,000. And if you're talking about an increased expense of $500, you're still gaining as an employee. So, and we can't do those calculations for every single person. We don't even know what their plans may
You
be.
kind of have to know in general what your, because I
Right.
can tell you those bank employees are not really happy with their insurance that they have.
Can you get us a list of insurance companies that will not contract with you? That won't?
Well, right now, there's just a few, but like the hospital went to a new plan with BMI, I have to fill out paper claims. We can't use our computer systems, we have to type, I have to drag the typewriter out of and type paper claims, which take forever. And had they discussed that with me, I would have said it would be really nice. And it's not that my system won't do it, the clearinghouse that does the whole United States won't even add that insurance company. Because BMI is its own little thing
Are
out
they
here.
new?
Huh?
Are they new?
No,
No,
because
we had them a long time ago. But, I mean, it was a disaster, and it's starting, I mean, it's not, I mean, you might have to type 2 paper claims a month. It's not, it's just, all things being equal, if we knew that ahead of time, or if the hospital would have informed us, and we usually don't know until somebody comes in, and then we can't bill them. TRICARE is one that is historically bad. There's a lot of people in our county that have this Christian insurance company. That's major medical that's put in a pool. That's not technically even health insurance. It covers no immunizations. It covers, I mean, it's very limited on what it covers. And people will bring it and say, here, I have health insurance. No, you don't. You didn't read the fine print. This is not health insurance. This is major medical if you have a catastrophe. It's not health insurance at all. It says right on the card, this is not health insurance.
Well, we're mandated to provide that, being over 50 employees, so we won't have that particular problem.
But, I know. I just know that if you go with some real off company, be really careful to investigate and find out who they are, who they have, and call that county or that company and say, what are your employees, what's the issues that you have? Because when you get to the small ones, they're maybe offer a better price. That's what happens. So, and the reimbursement rates are different, you know. TRICARE only pays us, not us, but TRICARE only pays about half of the vaccines are worth to people that, what they cost to us, TRICARE pays about half of that. Because I've seen their list to see if we even want to try to get TRICARE to take us. And I talked to Mr. Moran when he came to see us with that same problem. But now I don't even want TRICARE to want us because they only pay half of what I pay for the
would surely want them in there.
Anybody else have anything? Well, for the agenda, we're gonna take a look at space utilization in the courthouse. So any of you that are involved in that process, I would advise you to stay. I guess if you don't have office space in the courthouse, you can go back to work, I guess.
Thank you.
I don't know if they've been in the hallway. That's all I can see.
Extension.
I think Judge Grace was out there.
That, see how that has a partition wall and a jury in there? Does that mean that that's just the faux wall that's over here?
This wall,
I've never
this
been
wall
back.
right here. Yeah, that's just a wall. They used, the jury, the courthouse. What's that? It's not. It's an organizational problem.
Okay, it's not a space problem.
I mean, there's stuff.
Yeah.
Some of it doesn't need to be there. The rest of it could be organized differently. Well, we're needing to create some space, and an addition is out of the question, I think, so we're trying to come up with a way maybe to move a few things around. We don't have a definite plan of any kind yet, we're just kind of looking. I think most of you have a general idea of what some of the ideas that we've come up with. Jennifer's going to be moving her office to the courthouse, so we have to come up with some space for her. We're going to go to a full-time human resource people that will be separate from the clerk's office, so we need to come up with some space for that person. There's a lot of different ideas floating around that we've been discussing, but nothing really concrete, I guess.
Thank you. Nothing interior structural, like weight bearing, so it's just kind
If
of.
there is, it just be the ceiling more than a big change. One thing that we kind of came across with is the possibility maybe of utilizing this little building out here. It takes some work, but we could gain significant space. They went out and measured this like 24 by 20. It's been used for different offices in the past. Right now it's got a lot of stuff in it. But the floor plan in there could be changed, the interior walls, the structure other than the ceiling joist, but that would alleviate a lot of the problem, or part of the problem. There'll still have to be a little bit of juggling done.
For what would we utilize that for?
Well, we're not sure if we would go, you know, there are several people that are probably going to have to move. David, I think, is going to have to probably go. I don't know if it would work for the county attorney office. It's just something that we kind of came up with this morning, really, that we talked about earlier. We haven't really got a chance to look at it and discuss it other than that it's a possibility to move someone out there. it would easily work for David because he doesn't, he's in the courthouse, but he doesn't really need to be in the courthouse.
And I don't have that many people that come up and visit with me either.
Yeah.
On a regular basis. I couldn't say 5 per week. That's random.
I think one of the first things we may need to establish is where is everybody's storage and how can we organize and consolidate that? Because I think what we've heard a lot of is this office has a little bit over here and a little bit over there and old stuff that we need to keep or old stuff that we don't need to keep. And one of the first discussions we had was the room for storage behind the courtroom. If we were to utilize that for something for the county attorney, you know, is there stuff up there that can be pitched or sold or thrown away? What kind of consolidation process can we have? And I think it's been quite a few years since anyone's done a clean out, I believe. So can
Jude and I did clean out our sections there. So we went through all of our stuff since it was by each other. We weren't for sure which was which. We had kind of consolidated again.
And I don't think there's any intention of moving anything that has to do with the district court office being right with the...
That was back to the storage room.
Oh, I'm
Our
sorry.
stuff.
I'm sorry. Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, so whatever's up there you're saying would be
I'm
other
pretty
departments,
confident that what's up there is
not for you.
probably needing to stay.
Okay.
The clerk's office, I have election equipment, I do have some election equipment that I can get rid of, but we keep 5 years worth of everything. So basically I have 2 in the vault, current year, prior year, and then 3 other years. So I would have to have some place in which to store that stuff. We have census materials that are forever. Do they necessarily have to be in a storage room? I'm not sure. I don't know. I really don't know if they could go to the Historical Society or not. It could be something. But that's the type of stuff that I have up there. If we do move, I have election equipment inside of the closet in the commissioner's room as well. So if whatever office takes that office over needs that space, I would need a space for my items, that is constantly locked. And that's part of the reason why I was concerned about building into the storage room, because I guess I look at the size of it and I think what they would need for space and the fact that there's no boiler or heater in that area. It's in that corner is where the radiator is at. And there's really no electricity. I think they installed some electricity to put some lights back there a couple of years ago. But other than that, there's no outlets, there's no AC. So that's part of the reason why I brought up the conversation about maybe reorganizing what we have down on the lower 2 levels, but it doesn't mean that it shouldn't be done and couldn't be done upstairs either.
Extension.
Sorry, and we still have bad that you can smell upstairs. I would be concerned with anybody wanting to work in there. So, sorry, go ahead, Lisa.
Extension, we just have up in the storage room, we kind of just have a small corner up there, but we have some stuff up there that we could clean, could definitely clean out. And we've also talked about our storage that we kind of have down here. This is not great storage back in this little room right here, but we did clean a lot of that out this past year, and so we don't have near as much in there as we used to, and we could probably consolidate that into another location if we needed to, if that's something we could help with from a storage standpoint.
And I believe some of my files are in the old health department, some of them are upstairs. I had consolidated those, but when my office was taken by David, when we moved, I think Mr. Job, then all of my things had to be relocated. So I'm kind of spread out everywhere to a certain degree. Now, can I destroy some of those? Yeah. But have I had to go in the health department and actually get files? Yes, I did a month ago, 30 years ago.
Well, you probably can't move much until you know where you're going.
No.
Yes, Is that house a possibility, Jennifer?
I haven't been in it, but I mean, my biggest concern, I apologize, I'll stand. I think my biggest concern when I requested this was for there to be some public safety issue. And I think we just need to address that the same people that the sheriff's office are dealing with are the same people that I deal with. They have bulletproof glass, they have some obstruction that stops people from coming in. I have nothing. So I think that we need to be thinking about that. My first preference is to be on the 3rd floor because I think from a cost benefit down the road, if we're going to have to do some courtroom security, I think it would be easier to contain. But I'm open to things. You know, do I feel like the county attorney's office upstairs that David is currently in is sufficient? No. It's a very small room. There's no way that my staff and myself can be in that room at the same time without tripping all over each other. I know there's been some discussion about kind of flipping rooms and doing things. I'm okay with all of that. You know, I just think I want to just look down a couple years to see what we need so then we can be in a position so we're not constantly transferring everyone over. I mean, my decision to move up to the courthouse wasn't to push everyone into every different direction. I realize that, and I appreciate Ms. Harlow's work because she's consulted with me many times about what I would be comfortable with and not comfortable with. So I'm okay as long as we talk about what that public safety issue is and how we deal with that appropriately.
Does the clerk of the district court have to be in that bigger room? Can it be moved into your old office and you move into that one? Is that?
I don't think that's available
Okay.
because they need access to the vault that has all of their stuff in there. So, you know, the only discussion would be potentially flip-flopping the jury room and the county attorney's room with the caveat that we would probably have to move in at some point to the storage if that was appropriate, but that's going to be expenditure for the county in order to do. Because I think if you're doing that, we're going to have to also do increased storage that has to be locked and all these other things. And when I looked up there, I think the heating issue that Ms. Harlow brought up is very important, the cooling issue, as well as there probably needs to be a sufficient clean out to make sure there's no health issues associated with anybody being in there.
Does the jury room need to be on the same floor as the judges? Because that was my concern, is what we would do with the juries.
It really does.
We also have storage in the jury room. We keep 4, 6 file cabinets in there. 4 of them are the big turn files. And so we do access those regularly, those old files.
Is the courtroom extra big? I mean, is it so large that we could cut it down some way to create a jury room that we don't use very often?
Yes, it is large for our day-to-day use. When we did, I've only had one jury trial since I've been here, but it was a pretty packed room while we were doing the juror selection. We had, I think, 110 people in there, plus attorneys, and it was pretty close quarters there for a little while, but then once all that jury selection was done, so I guess.
Are we obligated to have a big enough place for that?
Yes, that back wall of the courtroom could be brought out maybe 6 feet, and that would free up a lot of space back there that you could do a lot with in terms of the jury room, in terms of office space. But then you have to make sure that you have appropriate ventilation and heat and all that.
I think that, courtroom security is going to become a bigger issue, like everybody says. And I just think I think we need to figure out a plan to have the county attorney in that area, because we can go in there and start moving all these people around, and then in a couple of years they're gonna come out with something else on courthouse security that we're gonna have to take her up there anyhow. So I think you're right, and in my younger days, I did the remodel on the sheriff's office, and we put bulletproof glass in there because of the people. They didn't have control of the people that came through the door. They were just sitting there in the open, and we put in all the electric locks on the doors and the bulletproof glass, and so now they have a barrier between them and whoever walks in the door. They have to let them in. You had an electrical issue, Leanne, in your driver's license deal.
Yes.
If
But
we,
it is bigger than the commissioner room, and I have no problem moving across. No problem with that.
Okay.
And we stepped it out, and there's enough room for the camera. And maybe if we do get that room and Dawn can move some of her stuff somewhere, maybe we can put some of the tax rolls that are a permanent record and we have to
In
keep
that
them. Maybe
cupboard.
we can put some in there and free up more space upstairs.
well, what I was wondering about was if we could move the driver's license over there and possibly put human resources for the driver's license. A little bigger room.
Do those have to be kept on site?
Tax rolls?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I can find out.
David, do you think it'd be possible to fit your equipment in to the room that's connected to the clerk's office?
I think it could be, yes. I have a lot of stuff, yes. Some of the stuff is from my predecessor, yes, but I don't want to discard that stuff. That's the working part of me. But again, it takes some looking at, but I could fit in that room, yes. Or again, if it was required of me, I could go out, if it came to that, I could go out to that building also. Whatever would accommodate everybody.
But we need to take a look at that building and see what the cost would be to renovate it.
Jennifer, would you be opposed to being in the basement until we made some decisions on construction options if we were to do some large project on the third floor?
My concern would be with that was what your decision-making process and the time limitation you would have. Because if I'm going to be going into a certain office, I'm not going to be buying a bunch of things to accommodate wherever I'm at. I would like to do that once. That's why in this budget year, I've tried to be so frugal with my money, hoping that I can utilize this budget year to buy some equipment and do some other things that we're going to need in the process. I truly believe I need to be on the top floor. Even if I were to be up there in some room, it's doable if there is going to be a transition point at some point. That's what I just want to discuss. If you all are like, we don't have any money to do this, maybe in like 4 years we can deal with it, then that's going to beget like, well, maybe I need to go just someplace else until we kind of figure that out. But I'm not rushing you or trying not to rush you. I just feel like the bigger picture is at some point I need to be on the third floor, and I don't know how we're going to do that without spending some money to renovate the storage.
I don't think that you're talking, if you were to go to the jury room and then build another little room into the storage area there, you're not talking about that much of expense. You're just basically building an enclosure in there.
Where would my files that are in the jury room then go? Would they try to fit into David's office?
Is that the wall cabinets? Is that what you're saying, the big wall cabinets?
I've got 4 of those in that room, and then 2 other cabinets that are also in the room. And we have to access those pretty regularly.
Almost daily.
Yeah, when people request documents from other pieces.
I know it would take some pulling up of some pews in the courtroom, but what if a person would square off from the
from their office?
I don't know why not.
You could make almost a hall entrance and have the files along the wall and have a separate door then that enters into the... I don't even think that would touch maybe the first row, might be tiny.
There's basically a hallway in there now, isn't there? Coming out of the clerk's office into the courtroom.
No, it's just a door, you walk straight through this courtroom.
So it looks like there was a wall there.
Yeah, there was a wall there.
It's gone. But that's what they
According
had.
to the blueprints, there's a wall there.
They had a hallway to walk out there.
So that would be a possibility. You could put it pretty well anywhere in there. But according to this, there was
Yeah.
a hallway.
And we would only need the actual depth of the cabinet space to
Yeah.
walk, you know, the rest of the hallway.
That would be more convenient than
Or is that the little cutout that's there now in the clerk's office? Like, we'd have to go up there, but they had storage there. I think this is their existing room now,
Okay.
because it's kind of weird shaped
Mm-hmm.
around the vault.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not sure your vault is that big, is it?
Our vault is pretty big because we have walls of, a whole wall of old civils that are kept in there. And then another
When you
whole
walk
wall.
out the door into the courtroom, isn't
It's
it just
right
the door?
there. Yeah.
Yeah, so
That
this,
should
this
be-
was there and it's not there now.
Okay.
This area, because mine's all in this area.
Yeah.
Then we could go and try to create.
Because my whole storage is this whole wall here is my storage. So I don't know if would that fit into that area.
Barely.
And this
We would
is
have
this
to-
is a three wide. It's all one. It looks like it was built in there. So
we
I
would
don't
have to do
know.
some measurements and see.
It would have to be taken apart.
I
and
think
moved,
it
I
was
think.
actually over there, and they moved it and added a third unit. I think
Okay.
It was two.
It
and
was
they
two. Okay.
added a
And it
third.
must be able to add on. 'cause it
This would
looks
have to
like
be
all-
brought over a little bit
Yeah.
down.
That would give, if you come down here, and across there.
It doesn't seem like there's that much walk space between with the pews would be bigger.
So I think their pews are longer. They would probably have to do something with the pews.
And if we are discussing courtroom security, I guess I was looking through one of the they did a risk assessment back in, it looks like 2006, and one of the suggestions they had made was a bulletproof judge's bench for the judge to take cover under should anything happen. If we were to have to redo the setup of the courtroom because we were removing benches, any ways that might be, if we had to move the judge's bench for any reason, that would maybe be something I would recommend looking into, because that was on that risk assessment. It's just one of the things that had popped out to me.
If we go upstairs and look, this wall here is 2x4s on the backside and they just put paneling up. So you have to be careful when you put boxes on.
What's in here?
So it could be moved.
That's the jury box where they
Where the
sit.
It's not actually a room.
Oh, okay, yes, it's
so then,
elevated.
yeah,
Okay,
so here's
yeah.
the witness stand.
Yeah.
And then the judge's bench is here.
Okay.
And there's an entryway here and an entryway here. So there is a door already here. It's just,
For the storage room?
yes, it's just that the pews are kind of in the way. It's-
The way that wall is, you can put doors anywhere you want it. It's just a false wall.
The only thing is Jennifer's voice carries, so whatever would happen would need to have
Insulation.
Well, you can solve a lot of that problem with insulation. I mean, there are ways you offset studs, you do different things in the wall to soundproof.
I mean, we can go up and look if you guys want to go look at each of the
Do you have
offices.
anything else today?
I don't have anything unless you do. And we could go look outside too if you want to kind of get a bigger picture of what all the areas are. I don't know what everybody wants to do, but it just seems like
Well, I
maybe
think
if we work together.
We need to go up and look this situation over. And
I think we probably need to look at that building. I think people need to look in that building, see if it's gonna be suitable for somebody to use.
I really think the last time when I was up in the storage area, I think it's just like my house and everybody else's house. It's more of an organizational problem than it is a stuff. I think it can be organized a lot differently.
Well, we had
Space
attempted.
would be gained.
We had attempted many years ago with some cabinets, but I'm not sure that anybody uses those cabinets anymore because there's so much stuff because nobody will purge. So,
Out of curiosity, is the extension office, are you feeling that you have to have two separate divided areas? Or is there any possibility that you all share, not a particular space that you're in now, just one space? It was kind of brought to our attention there might be some concern that you might need some privacy issues if your office was to move for whatever reason, that you want to be separate from one another, or at least your office would be.
There are definitely times with my director role with the 5 counties that I do need a door to shut and have to address.
Okay.
There's privacy sort of issues.
Okay.
This is a space, I was going to say this earlier, I don't know, so the bus, if you're going to need a space for the bus person, right?
Potentially.
I mean, this may...
Potentially, yeah.
I'm just saying this could be up at, I mean, I know you can't be in here on Mondays with commission meetings and kind of fluctuate around meetings, but we would be willing, this is a space we could also clean out. This could be a workable space for someone who's not here
Every day.
every day, but we could also, would be willing to work with.
I'm asking that because actually the building outside, if it's 24 by 20, the dimensions I'm getting from your 2 offices combined, well not yours, but the 2 offices for extension combined is only 24 by 26. So you're losing 6 feet one way or the other. But if we were to do anything out there at all, if you potentially were the ones to move in there, you could probably partition an office within there as well. Are there interior walls in there? That was the health department?
It's been a little bit of everything.
Actually, and you're not losing that because your one office, well, there's a protrusion out into the hallway, but really your one office doesn't come all the way out to the outside wall. So really, square footage-wise, I bet you it's the same.
Okay, well,
We're gonna adjourn and then view.
yeah, we'll adjourn, go look at some space.
So I'm just gonna recess